Hi, everybody. I wanted to come on and create this short video to provide an update on where we're at with the Supplemental Nonprofit Security Grant, as well as the fiscal year 2025 NSGP grant. Our goal is to ensure clarity and transparency as we move forward, addressing the recent developments and what that means for the organizations involved. And so with that, let's dive into some of the recent updates that we have received. I'm going to start with the supplemental NSGP. This was a second round of funding in 2024 that was made available in October. FEMA announced an additional $210 million to nonprofits that had experienced an increased threat since the conflict in Gaza. The deadlines for this grant were back in December and January, depending on the state that you were located in, and FEMA was expected to announce the awards of this grant on April 1st of 2025. With the manual grant review process that came with the new presidential administration, it has delayed a lot of movement for grants this year. And so the announcements had not occurred, and we had very little insight into when the supplemental would be announced. There was a lot of concern or worry that the supplemental would not be announced, it would have just been discarded. There was no communication from FEMA indicating that. And so we did continue to believe that it would be announced. The question was just when. I am excited to announce that we have heard movement on the awards for the supplemental from FEMA directly. They sent out an advisory on June 27th of 2025. Many of you may have seen that. And so following the latest announcement from FEMA, the Department of Homeland Security has awarded $94 million in grants to support 512 Jewish faith-based organizations in their efforts to protect against targeted violence and terrorism. The notifications of the awards, as well as letters to those that were not selected, will likely soon be sent out through their respective states. And so that is something to keep an eye out in the next week or two. There are some essential points that I want to point out with this advisory that was released, and that is particularly the discrepancies between the notice of funding and this advisory or the decisions regarding this award that were made in the month of June. Firstly, the available funding was significantly reduced from the anticipated $210 million to now being only $94 million. With that, the number of organizations to be awarded significantly reduced. Secondly, while all nonprofits were encouraged to apply and were eligible, whether they were religious or non-religious nonprofits, there were going to be specific percentages reserved for Jewish organizations, Islamic organizations. However, only the portion for Jewish organizations is going to be distributed. The first thing to say to this is congratulations to the 512 organizations that are going to be receiving funding through this grant. This funding is vital and will play a significant role in safeguarding their communities and their facilities. There were very strong cases made by other organizations that would have greatly benefited from this type of financial support. The large reduction in available funding and changes in eligibility criteria, they were unexpected and definitely disappointing to many. This was something that we really were not able to predict or foresee. And so with that, I want to provide this update and stress that at EMD, we remain committed to supporting all nonprofit organizations in navigating these challenges, and we're going to continue to provide guidance and resources as this situation develops. And so with that, I want to talk about the next opportunity for funding, and that should be the fiscal year 2025 NSGP grant. Funding has been allocated to this program. We are currently still unaware of the exact release date for the notice of funding Typically, this grant would have been done and over at this point in the year. It usually happens in the spring. However, like I said, with the manual grant review process, this program was also one of those that has experienced significant delays in getting released. However, with now the announcement of the supplemental awards being selected, we do anticipate seeing the notice of funding being released shortly after the award letters go out for the supplemental. And so I would say, keep close eye on your email. You'll see emails from me, you'll see emails from your program reps for your states when the notice of funding comes out. And so I would say keep a close eye, especially, mid and July, for any type of announcements. In terms of working with EMD, I'm going to start with, if a lot of people went after the supplemental grant. And so if the supplemental was your first grant in working with us, as part of our agreement and working relationship, we will still help you go after a second grant. So that could be the fiscal year 2025 NSGP grant, or if your state has a state version of the NSGP, that could be an option to pursue as well. But we want to help you go after a second grant. If the supplemental was a reapplication, so maybe that was your second grant or your third grant in working with us, normally our agreement would have been considered met at this point. However, with all the changes that came in the month of June, with the reduction of the funding, the change in eligibility, we are still committed to helping your nonprofit receive the necessary funding to help secure your facilities. And so we do want to donate our time to help you pursue the fiscal year 2025, or again, if you have a state grant, a state NSGP grant as well. And so that is a special offering that we are excited to announce. If you are interested in reapplying for the whether it's the fiscal year 2025 or a potential state NSGP grant, I have my email on this slide. Please reach out to me as soon as possible. We have a lot of first-time applicants that are signing up with us that are and so we are filling up in terms of our schedule. But again, we are dedicated to helping you reapply. So there is going to be some updated information I'm going to need from you. I just want to touch base on what your priorities are in reapplying. And so hopefully over the next 2 weeks, we can start having those discussions. We're going to refresh your documents for you. Create new suggested answers for your investment justifications, and make sure you're prepared to submit. So reach out to me via email. We'll set up a time to talk. And so I'm excited to hear from you. And with the announcements, we're excited to move forward with the next round of NSGP funding. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions about anything I've said in this update, or again, if you're ready to reapply. We're excited to get to continue to work with you.